We are again back with the Valley of St. Louis Master Craftsman Study Group program. We're excited to keep diving in and digging in with you as we explore morals and dogma. This lecture today, we're going to break apart the 27th or 28th degree, depending on how you're looking at the ritual, Knight Commander of the Temple, and explore that degree. So join with us as we dig through. This is a very short section, pretty easy, but we think you'll enjoy it. And it starts on page 685 in Morals and Dogma. That's where we're going to start digging, and keep up with us. Remember, if you're in the Valley of St. Louis Master Craftsman Study Group program, you do need to have read the material before you listen to this lecture. Again, this is a recap. We're not doing word for word. We're just taking our time to kind of cover the high points. So we look forward to this exploration today, and we'll work our way through it and hope you enjoy. So again, we're digging into Knight Commander of the Temple, the 27th or 28th degree, depending on how you're looking at this, by Pike's ritual and layout. It is the 27th degree. By the Revised Standard Pike ritual, it is the 28th. So that's where we're going to dig. That's where we're going. And let's jump in. So this degree is the first of what they say is the really truly chivalric degrees. Dealing with knighthood and some of those themes, and it's part of a 3-degree arc. And that's part of the reason they said that they've moved it to be the 28th degree now. Part of the reason that they've shifted it about is to bring harmony to that arc instead of having split apart. I've heard several brothers talk about these shifts before. One of the points they bring up is the idea that the way the degrees were originally structured, it was very much to give brothers perhaps a respite in terms of the massive amount of information you're receiving as part of the mystery degrees. So you have this degree, which kind of dials it back a little bit, and then you jump in hard with that final degree that kind of caps the mysteries off, prints it at Night of the Sun, and finish it out. So this was supposed to be that breather, that pause and breath. But obviously that's been shifted around for this idea of symmetry and unity and all that type of thing. Degree is really interesting in its presentation. It exposes us to this aspirant, this squire, Constance, who is a candidate to be knighted. And he's going to sit vigil in this chapel. And they tell him, wait, be patient, pray, reflect, and in the morning, you'll get knighted. We'll make you a part of our order, all these good things. And over the course of the evening, he's tempted 3 different times. We don't need to so much go into this in terms of how he's tempted, other than it's 3 times talking about his affections, his own material possessions, and then his soul. And he pushes those away. He fights those off, says, my duty is here, my responsibility is here, my friends, my love, my faith will keep me, and they won't abandon me in these other circumstances. And he goes back to praying. Goes back to reflecting, to contemplating, to meditating. And as the night wanes on, he begins to hear distress outside the chapel. He begins to hear screams of women, children, men. He can see fire lighting up the sky coming through the glass, and he comes to the summation that the town is under attack. Innocents are being killed, and he can't restrain himself any longer, and he goes out and he enters the battle, and he fights. Out in the evening. The next place we pick up, because we don't really follow him out of the chapel, is the morning. And the knights who left him have returned to the chapel. They're covered in soot and dirt and grime and blood and all those things, because they have been fighting all night, but they were victorious. And they come in, they do not find this squire, this aspirant Constance. They can't find him. He's not there. They begin to poke fun at his absence, make fun of him, his weakness, his cowardice. Why did he run off? All these terrible things. And in the course of that discussion, they're also focusing on the battle again. And they discuss the fact that in the middle of the night, there was this brave knight who just appeared out of nowhere. Nobody knows who he was. And he was really the crux, the linchpin that helped victory happen. Really, he was that point. And the whole time he's fighting, He's exclaiming, "My hope is in God, my hope is in God," as he fights on and he fights on. Well, just as he does that, they're talking about that. Constance comes in. He's covered in blood. He's dirty. He's scraped up pretty bad. And the knights begin ribbing him even worse. "Where were you? Where did you go? Why did you do this? Where have you been? We had a massive battle. Where were you hiding? Were you being a coward?" And then they notice that his shield and the emblems on it and what he wears matches the description of that knight who saved the day. And then all those pieces fall together and they have this realization that it was him who contributed greatly to the victory. And thus he's honored. That's the allegory of this degree, kind of in a simplified version. We're told that the vigil is, of course, important. It plays the primary central piece of the allegory. You can see by the slides kind of what happens. But the end scope of this degree is teaching us to be devoted to truth, honor, loyalty, justice, and humanity. And we're told as this degree starts that this is, of course, the first of the really chivalric degrees, and it occupies a place, at least in the old work, between the 26th and the last of the philosophical degrees. Telling you, specifically, as I've already discussed, but it tells you in Morals and Dogma that it will relieve you of something that would become wearisome, but also remind you that while engaged in speculations and abstractions of philosophy and creeds, the Mason is also continuously being engaged in the duties of warfare. He is not only a moralist and a philosopher, but a soldier and a successor of those knights in the Middle Ages, who, while they wore the cross and wielded the sword, were soldiers, as we said, of honor, loyalty, and duty. Times change, and so do circumstances, but virtue and duty remain the same. Truth is an act, a profession, and an opinion, and it's rarer now than in the days of chivalry. Falsehood has become the current coin and circulates with a certain degree of respectability because it has actual value. It is indeed the great vice of the age. The press is the great sower of falsehood. To slander a political antagonist, to misrepresent all that he says, and that if it be impossible to invent for him what he does not say, to put in circulation whatever baseless calamities against him are necessary to defeat him. These are the habits that have become common. There was a time that a knight would rather die than utter a lie or break his word. The knight commander of the temple relives and revives the old knightly spirit. He devotes himself to the knightly worship of truth. To purity and innocence everywhere, we as knight commanders owe protection, as of old, against bold violence or other more guilty actions. We must take the old knightly spirit of devotion and disinterestedness and the contempt of death and make sure that it still lives with us in us, that it is not extinct from the human heart. Everywhere, a few are found who stand firmly and unflinchingly at their posts to front and defy the dangers, not for money to be honored or to protect their own household, but from their mere humanity. And so they obey the unerring dictates of duty. They nurse the sick, breathe the pestilent atmospheres of the hospitals. They explore the abodes of want and misery. With the gentleness of a woman, perhaps, they soften the pains of the dying, and they feed the lamp of life in its convalescence. They perform the last sad offices of the dead, and they seek no other reward than the approval of their own conscience. These are the true knights of the present age. These are the captains who remain at their post when their shattered ship wrecks against the reef until the last boat, loaded to the water's edge with passengers and crew, and has parted from its side. He then goes calmly down with her to the mysterious depths of the ocean. The pilot who stands at the wheel while the swift flames eddy around him and scorch away his life. The fireman who ascends the blazing walls and plunges amid the flames to save the property and lives of those who had no claim to him by blood or friendship. or even ordinary acquaintance. These and others like these, all men who, set at the post of duty, stand there manfully to die if need be, but not desert their post. For these too are sworn not to recede before the enemy, as we too are sworn not to recede as Knight's commander. Again, this is a very short lecture, just a couple pages, but a couple things to think about. Pike tells us that men for political preferment profess whatever principles are expedient and profitable. Is that a fair statement? I think we can all come to some easy conclusion on that, but wrap your own mind to it. Pike takes a little bit of time and he talks about this idea of knights would not utter a lie or break their word, and that we should revive that spirit. To what extent do you think that that's important? Is it wrong to tell a white lie to avoid injuring someone if no one is harmed by that lie? Can it be wrong to be fanatically devoted to telling the truth? My brothers, in considering these things, in considering Knight Commander of the Temple, we have a lot going on. Take some time to work your way through it personally. Consider the importance of this degree and reflect on it. Again, thank you for joining us for the Master Craftsman Philosophy Lecture on Knight Commander of the Temple. We hope you come back next time and join us here in the Valley of St. Louis as we dig deeper into the work. We'll see you next time.